your body's hidden hunger hormone that can make fat loss nearly impossible. Coach Chris Wilson interviews Strength Coach Ryan Faehnle. You've already shared a couple really cool stories with some of the people that you've worked with. Can you share a few of the other transformations that you've witnessed, maybe just recently, with some people that you're working with?
Yeah, man, I've had quite a few interesting ones. One of them a while back was he was actually a triple medalist at the Beijing Olympics. He was a swimmer, and I knew his coach, and his coach contacted me for some help with some off-season training, and we worked him out, and I gave him a program, and he actually shredded up pretty nicely for an already elite Olympic athlete. Triple medalist again in the Olympics. So that was pretty fascinating. Had another guy, a football player. He was a funny one. He weighed 350 pounds, so that's a lot.
He was a football player. He was a defensive tackle or an offensive lineman, right?
Yes, he was a D lineman. He was a D lineman, but the coaches needed him closer to 315, and because he was really explosive, but he could only do about 2 plays before he had to get a substitution. So they needed to improve his work capacity. So with him, I didn't change any of his foods. Like, I didn't take away any foods that he ate and enjoyed. I just moderated the amounts and worked a little bit on when to include them. So, for example, he loves his Country Time lemonade, which, as you know, is full of sugar. It's basically just sugar water. Right, and so he would wake up in the morning, and in his mind, his background was not in health and education, so he just assumed lemonade equals lemons. Lemons is a fruit. This is good for me. So he would get up in the morning and smash several of those Country Time lemonade cans, even when he was doing nothing, like before practice or before training. So he'd be sitting and then eating, drinking 140 grams of sugar. And so we basically just modulated a little bit and said, all right, keep your lemonade, but we're going to have it, around workout time or around practice time, instead of just while you're sitting around. So that was one change we made. The other change we made was adjusting the amounts so we like pizza too. So we adjusted the amount of pizza he was eating. And I had him incorporate so basically I before each meal, whenever he was going to have quote-unquote junk food like pizza or things that you don't normally associate with being super healthy, I just told him, start every meal with 2 cups of cruciferous veggies. So that's your broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, kale, all that, because it takes up a lot of space in your stomach and it makes you feel full sooner with less calories. So start with 2 cups of cruciferous veggies and a protein shake. So he would have 50 grams of whey isolate protein, 2 cups of veggies, and then eat his pizza. Well, what ended up happening was he got full sooner, so he didn't eat as much pizza. So that was my way of getting him to eat less without making him without telling him he couldn't eat what he wanted. Does that make sense?
Right, and still providing all the nutrition that he required.
Exactly.
Being an athlete and having to be physical. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of people do the opposite. They eat their high-calorie foods first that don't take up a lot of space in their stomachs. And then they remain hungry even though they've overeaten on calories. So that's one of the I hate the term quote-unquote life hack because there's a lot of stuff out there that's kind of cheesy, but it's a great hack for getting in shape, is starting every meal with 2 cups of veggies, and if it's going to be a particularly junk food-esque meal, 2 cups of veggies and a protein shake. And that goes a long way in helping you to eat less. The other side of that is you have to listen to when your body's had enough. Once you have your veggies and your protein shake and you're eating whatever other food you are, you need to kind of stop when you're about 80% satisfied. So don't eat to the point where you're like, oh, I'm so bloated, I ate. Don't eat to the point of being full. Eat to the point of being satisfied, if that makes sense.
Right, because a little bit of hunger won't kill you.
Right.
If you're 80% of the way there, you're like, okay, if I just have one more big glass of water, like I'm fine. And 10 minutes later, you're not even thinking about food.
If there's one thing, put it all into one sentence for best chance of success at fat loss, I would say it would be learn to embrace a tolerable level of hunger. So not so hungry where you're like just starving and going to eat everything in sight, mildly hungry. If you can get used to that feeling, it's not an emergency. How many of us panic when we get a little bit hungry? Oh, and it's ridiculous because we live in the Western society where we have access to food whenever we need it.
Wherever.
And so it's like we get a little bit hungry, like, oh my gosh, I'm starving, because we're dramatic like that too. We're dramatic too, right? I'm starving, and it's like, you're not starving. You ate 2 hours ago. So learning just a mild level of hunger, starting the meal, eating, and then finishing the meal while you still have a mild level of hunger, that's one of the best things. If you can embrace that concept, you don't need to get too nitpicky about your food selections. You can really, kind of eat what you want. I know it sounds crazy, but it's not an empty promise. If you learn to modulate your appetite, you can do it.
As life goes on, and we're both about the same age, married with kids, you realize something. The wisdom starts to be part of your life, because when you're 20, you just think you know it all, and you really don't. And then the older you get, to realize you realize that you at least start to accept the fact that you don't know a lot of stuff, but you're open to learning, and you're open to things. But simple is what works best in life. The simpler things are, the more effective they can be, and the more sustainable they can be. And so obviously we've talked about not overeating. We've talked about muscle activation techniques, or, how to wake the body up, how to wake the muscles up, and working with existing habits. If I was to say those are three things for sustainable fat loss, is it really that easy? Because people are going to say, is it really that easy? Those are the three things I'm supposed to do, and I'm going to actually get results.
I'll tell you what, it kind of really is, but there is one other thing, and that's consistency. You can't be 100% switched on only 50% of the time. Mm-hmm. I'd rather you be 90% switched on 100% of the time. So again, it goes back to what a lot of people accidentally do, meaning well, but they're perfect on their diet, no deviation, Monday through Friday afternoon, and then they fall off the wagon Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and get right back on the wagon Monday, and Monday through Friday, and it's the same repeating thing, and they come to me and say, I'm eating really healthy, I just don't understand. It's like, well, you are for about half of the week, but then the other half of the week you're eating like a complete and total. So if you can be consistent with that eating, so let's do this. Let's make your super perfect healthy days a little less perfect, and make your really, really days a little more perfect, and even it out a little bit, more balancing in the favor of being healthy. And then, you know what, you're going to be just fine. And usually they are. So you got to do this for the long haul. It takes a lot of patience. And that, honestly, it falls right into line with the action of ghrelin. Do not chase fast fat loss. Yes, you can lose fat super fast, but it will always, always, always lead to a rebound. I don't care about your before and after picture. I care about your 2 years after your after picture. Yeah. So the transformations that I'm most impressed with, I don't give about your 12-week transformation, your 8-week transformation. Those are all great. When I was 20, I was really impressed by those. I wanted to learn how they did it. The way you do it, secret, cat's out of the bag, super, super extreme, unsustainable diet, training, drugs. Done. There you go. That's how it's done. Now I care about how to get an awesome transformation that's sustainable, that you can live your life afterwards. So one of the things I tell people is limit yourself to about 0.5% to 1% of your body weight per week in fat loss tops. So for a 200-pound individual, we're talking 1 to 2 pounds of fat per week. A 400-pound individual, it would be 2 to 4 pounds of fat per week. It sounds slow, but that's the best way to make progress without creating a ghrelin surge that's going to leave you super hungry after your diet. Right. So you got to be patient. Otherwise, you'll be in shape for a small flash of time, and then you'll be in worse shape if than when you started if you try to do things too fast.
And that method, be consistent over the long haul. And, and that works for everything. That works for your finances. If you took, if you took, a certain percentage, 3%, 4%, whatever it is, of every dollar you earned every week over a period of years and invested it, everyone would have more money than they knew what to do with, when they hit 50 or 60 years old. But we just don't do it. But most people just don't do it. But it really is that easy. It really, I mean, it's not a hard thing. It's just a very hard thing to do, to follow through with. And follow through is where people fail. So you take all this great information that you've shared and talked about. Obviously, you created a program, Fat Loss Activation.
Yes.
And it's a guide. It's a way to tame your hunger, activate your muscles, and spend very little time a day doing any exercise and following this kind of 80-20 rule and achieving the body that you want, as long as you're willing to commit the time to it.
Exactly. I was excited about this project for a couple reasons. So first of all, my background is in hardcore training. I was training high-level athletes. I like to train that way myself. I primarily probably train like a hybrid between a bodybuilder, powerlifter, and strongman. So that's how I like to train. But what I found is friends, relatives, whenever they would ask me for advice, they'd look at me like I had three heads when I'd talk about squats and farmer's walks, and I realized it's just not for everyone. A lot of people need something much simpler, something that's more on their level. So this program, all it requires in terms of equipment is a bench and some dumbbells. So you can do this. This is an at-home program. Again, when you talk about investing your money, a bench and some adjustable dumbbells, I'll tell you what, that is a mild investment in your physique. Truthfully, you go on like Craigslist or eBay or something, I bet you could get both for maybe $200 tops. Shipped to your door. That the cost of one grocery bill for the week. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or you can, if you're really inventive, make your own bench. Go get the raw supplies. Get some stuff and make it yourself. I've got a buddy that makes all his own gym equipment. So small investment there. Time investment is minimal. 15 minutes is the longest workout in the thing for the base workout. I have included some cardio accelerator protocols for anyone who does want to train more, but the base program that is results producing is only 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. So I'm sorry, I don't care who you are. You can, if you want to find an extra 15 minutes, delete Facebook, delete Instagram, delete Snapchat from your phone there. I just gave you 2 extra hours a day.
There you go.
So
wake up 15 minutes earlier. I mean, it's just
you gotta make it a priority. It's like, and I prefer to tell people to try to train early in the day if you can. Some people, we all have different lives, different schedules. But what I found is most people that put training off to the end of the day will oftentimes find a reason to not do it, or maybe it's not them finding a reason, but maybe life just gets in the way. If it's important to you, get up, do it. Get it out of the way, and then you have the rest of your day to let it flow as it may. So, I'm really excited about this program. It's also, of all the programs, nutrition plans I've ever done or written, it's probably the most simple in terms of nutrition. It's one that I really try to educate the customer on how to eat intuitively and how to listen to their bodies and learn what you need, as opposed to following some spreadsheet of I need to eat 3 ounces of tuna, don't even like tuna, and you eat 2 ounces of sweet potato. How do you get 2 ounces of sweet potato? Blah,
I gotta
blah,
weigh
blah.
it. How do I?
Yeah, exactly. So it's none of that. It's really in my opinion, really common sense nutrition that if you stick with it, you're consistent with it, and I'll tell you what. Give yourself, this is going to sound crazy, it's completely against what everyone else is doing in the market these days. Everyone wants to sell you on a 12-week transformation. Do this program for a year without faltering, no slip-ups, just 1 year. I promise you are going to see a different person in the mirror a year from now, because a lot of people get on these 30-day challenges, 1 week detox, 12-week transformation, And what happens year after year, they keep having the same body or even worse body. How about we, the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. The current system, the current culture is broke, so let's fix it. Let's start thinking in terms of periods of 6 months to a year or a year to 2 years for a good amount of time to see change with reasonable methods rather than overnight rapid change.
Hey, I speak from experience because we talked, obviously, discussed this whole program, fat loss activation, months and months ago, and I implemented a lot of your strategies. I mean, when diving through all this great literature and all this stuff that you had written and talked about, and I applied it to my own life. And in the last 4 or 5 months, I've kept off 15 to 20 pounds. I've kept it off, maintained it, and just feel great. And
awesome.
I can't say, I would still say ideally I would like probably another 3 to 5 pounds off me and be able to maintain that. And I think, as we get closer to like kind of that goal weight, it can be a little bit more challenging to nip those last few pounds. But I feel great. I'm not keeping myself from eating stuff that I enjoy. I'll have a protein shake before I have a meal just to help satisfy me there. Sometimes I have a protein shake before I go to, that late night craving that hits you after dinner, sometime around 9 o'clock or 10. The kids are asleep and you're like, oh my gosh, my dinner just didn't cut it tonight, so I'll have a protein shake instead of having a cheat or having something sweet. And I'll tell you, it feels awesome. And this is not me just, shooting off, a bunch of nonsense. It's 100% applicable from everything that you discussed in the program. And I've maintained it and I feel great. And I don't see any reason why this is not the way I'm just going to, be for the rest of time.
That's
not
awesome.
It's not something that you can't maintain. That's the whole point. That's why diets fail, because it's not sustainable, and if we really look at ourselves and say, I'm unhappy with where I am, then you need something that is going to make you happy for the long term, not give you a month of happiness.
Exactly. Well, that's great to hear, man. I'm glad you're implementing those principles. And I always find it funny, I do eat a lot of healthy foods. I eat a lot of high-quality proteins, a ton of veggies, fruits, and all that. But when I'm out in the social setting, I'll eat whatever I want. And it's always funny. My friends are like, wait, you're eating pizza? I thought you couldn't eat pizza and look like that. Or like, how are you doing that? And it's like, well, it's called getting to a point where I'm living a reasonable, sustainable lifestyle that is not overly restrictive. I still train hard, but I like to eat too. So it's my lifestyle. I don't ever. The bottom line is, if you're ever looking at your calendar going, oh, when is this diet going to end? You've failed. It shouldn't be like that. If you're looking for the end date, you've already kind of lost the battle, because that means you're battling against your willpower. The way I eat now, I can do this the rest of my life, 100%, no problems, and be happy.
Yeah, because that yo-yo effect is just so bad for you and your health. To be up, to be down, to be up, to be down, it's really not good, and your body does not like that. It likes to maintain a particular weight, and it is so easy to do with this program. Well, I thank you so much for everything, and it just having this conversation today just confirms everything that I'm doing. It makes and I'm a strength coach, and I'm a certified sports nutritionist, and yet I still picked up so much information from this and implemented it and saw results. So I mean, this can work for anybody, I promise.
Man, thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you having me on today. I enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, it's been wonderful. I really hope everyone can benefit from fat loss activation. I know you will. You just have to dedicate yourself to it, and good things will certainly happen. We'll talk to you again real soon, Ryan.